You're listening to World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world. And here are your hosts, Aingeal Rose and Ahonu.
Hi, you are very welcome. I am Ahonu, and this is my lovely Aingeal Rose. And today we are speaking with Teon Lucas, who lives close enough to us here in Sedona, Arizona. And we met Teon, probably a few months ago anyway, and many interesting discussions have arisen from our constant meetings and online sessions that we have. He runs a weekly mastermind indeed. And one of the things that came up that Aingeal Rose wants to discuss with him today is about the heart. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Aingeal Rose?
Well, in our discussions, he mentioned that the heart is a portal. And I wanted him to talk more about that in terms of, he was talking about manifesting. When you manifest, you have to bring it down into your heart, and that the heart was a portal. So I would just like him to explain that a little bit further for our listeners, and also to help me understand it a little bit more.
Yeah, because we're all familiar with manifesting, and many people indeed through the years have different methodologies. But one of the things that we're intrigued with regard to the way Teon talks about it, is that he creates the manifestation from various levels. And we let him introduce it and talk about it. But in particular, when he talks about the heart, that is of very much interest to us. You are very welcome, Teon. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so we're very keen to find out a little bit more about what we had a brief discussion about the other day when you talked about the heart. And maybe, Aingeal Rose, you could remind Teon.
Well, we were discussing manifesting through the levels, and you were talking about bringing it down through the heart, and that the heart was a portal. So I think I remember being told that somewhere along the line, but never really the implications of what that means and what it's capable of. So if you could talk to us about that, that would be really great.
Excellent. Yeah, and I even put aside an example for this as well. So,
great.
Make it more relatable. So, like you said, the heart in the center of your chest, right in the middle of your chakra system, is the doorway between outer manifest reality and the inner realms. And this is actually a fundamental property of how reality itself is formed. If we look at how reality is formed, we start in the absolute. That's your source, my source. We all have that as the source. And that is whole, it's timeless, it's indivisible. So in order to create the experience of being in a separate reality where you feel like an individual in any plane of existence in manifest reality, you have to have these four primary ideas. The first one is vibration. So vibration is what people call Om, the sound of the universe. Contained within Om is what I like to call the everything. So this is leading up to what the real power of the heart is, because Om is all energy, all thoughts, all streams of consciousness that's appearing here as life and beings, and people are full potential, multidimensional, or true self potential. All of that, the earth itself, everything is contained in Om. And then from Om comes two more of the four primary ideas. There's two properties of it. There's time and space. So time gives us the ability to change things, and it gives us frequency for some things like changing, but it doesn't have to move. And space gives us division, distance, and the ability for something to move, because it has space to move across. And without those three so far ideas, there's nothing within which to be separate. to have a distinct identity.
I like that you said they're ideas. So does that mean they're not actual facts? They're more ideas of
That's right.
consciousness?
So everything here is made up of ideas, and
Okay.
the awareness or the stream of consciousness projects through those ideas as like a lens to form what's here.
Okay. Got it.
And so the fourth idea is the atom, or Anu. And atom is the vibratory structure of everything in manifest reality, of creation here. So the center of the atom gives us that property of within and without. So that's
Okay.
where the original doorway is in the idea that there is such a thing as a doorway and that there's a within and without.
Gotcha.
So the moment you have that doorway, because reality is holographic, the center of every cell and the center of your chakra system, the heart, is that same doorway. So when you're the creator in this form, the place that you want to sit to command this form is in the heart.
Right. And would it work if you were to sit in any other chakra?
So now technically everything has an inner and an outer, right? So it's not like so limited to go like, well, I can't put my awareness in another chakra, like in my core, and emanate from there. No, that does work too. The point of making the distinction I'm making is between the heart and the mind, the brain,
Right.
the
Yes.
thought.
I wasn't being difficult when I asked you that question.
No, I
I just
understand.
want, yeah.
Oh,
I want to be
absolutely,
clear.
yeah. So what happens the more you embody multidimensionally or as your true self, the more you're simply the presence in the entire reality.
Right.
And so you can use any part of anything any way you want from that kind of embodiment. Right? There's no,
Yes.
oh, well, I have to be in the heart. But if you're trying to get from I'm in my mind and I've been thinking and there's tension, any of those things, over to the full power of creation, the heart is that doorway to go to, because that actually is what it's architected as. That's the primary idea of the
Gotcha.
four primary ideas, because you're within and without.
Yeah. And when you mentioned, Teon, about the atom and you said Anu, was that some reference to Anu of the Anunnaki, or is that just a...
No, that's the Sanskrit word. So they have Om for vibration of these four ideas. They have for time, we have Desa, I believe. And then for space, time is Kala, and space is Desa, and atom is Anu.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it interesting that Anu is the same name?
Yeah.
I'm only just connecting the dots here. But yeah, right.
When you refer to the original Sanskrit words for this, where this is like brought through by the teachers, the gurus in India, right? Then you're getting like an even clearer reference, more complete reference in language to what that vibratory energy of what they're describing is.
Yes, yeah. So let me ask you, when people talk about manifesting, and they're usually talking about manifesting some kind of physical desire into our 3D world. So it could be money, it could be a relationship, it could be a new job, whatever. And traditionally, through recent mainstream ideas, we've been told that you have to visualize it and you have to feel it. So when you mentioned vibration, time, space, and the atom, where does the feeling side of that come into it, if at all?
So feeling is the experience of your heart emitting the energy, right? So if you want to take what's from within, the inner realms, which is not in physical reality, it's in other planes of existence, the astral plane, the causal plane. But it's the full energy that forms this plane. And so if you want to take a complete reality or a level of energy that you have that's unlimited, or a different being that you have that has a different capability and set of qualities and characteristics, and embody it, it has to come out through the heart. If it stays just in your mind and you're visualizing it in your third eye or your mind, right? It stays in those realms.
I gotcha. You don't land it into the physical.
You have to land it down, which means bringing it through the portal and going, this is an alive creation. You're radiating out the life and the force through which it becomes manifest.
Right. Now, you did mention that you have some examples. Can you give us an example of what that looks like or feels like in practice? And the reason I'm asking is because many times we find that this is where people fall down. Like Aingeal Rose has written a marvelous book on manifesting, and in that, the way she describes is it works through journaling. That you're journaling to get to the core belief, the core idea, as you use that word, that feels alive and is animated, and in that way, there's feeling attached to it.
Yeah. So the real power you have is your awareness comes all the way from the absolute through Om, through the everything, which is all things which are simply projected here, because nothing here is actually created here. And that's through your awareness, your consciousness. So if you're creating something, that's the full energy and power that is the conduit that comes out through your heart, coming from any level of reality, from causal plane, astral plane, other beings with unlimited potential and wisdom, coming out through your heart. Those versions of yourself, your higher self, your true self, comes out through your heart as that awareness. So that awareness is the thread through which the stream of consciousness is coming out through and appearing in physical reality, in manifest reality, in physical reality. And so when you're using that pure awareness, it's got the highest vibratory potential. It's like even a drop of that level of life energy with what you would call the qualities to be in your heart and directly bring it through would be sincerity, right? That's one of the mechanics. So you're sincerely, meaning you're just bringing through the truth and what's right for you and what can be, right? And then the quality also is like confidence and conviction. Like you really mean that this is going to happen, right? That's another quality, as well as that like aliveness of feeling. You can really feel the joy, the happiness in your heart. So if I want to take something from the other planes, like from causal plane, astral plane, and bring it here, of all of those, the only feeling I need to focus on to produce it is just happiness. Because I visualize it and I start to feel the happiness in my heart. That's naturally coming out with conviction, with sincerity, because I'm not adding any other thoughts to it. I'm not running it through my brain. It's just coming out.
Yeah.
So if you follow that happiness, right, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm staying in that stream through which my awareness is bringing out that multidimensional new possibility.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I want to take care about the way I ask you this question, because in the outer world that we perceive right now, there is pestilence and war and disease and all of those negative kind of things, but they must have been manifested too at some level. So if manifesting is based on the heart and happiness, how could somebody have manifested pain and suffering and war?
Yeah, so that has to do with how the body works. So when you're learning how to be here, right? You're coming from inner realms where maybe you already know how everything works, but you're going, how do I operate in the physical world? And you look to others to go, how are things done here? Because it's different. Here you have different layers in your experience. And those layers have things like the repetition of time. So on a certain day of the year, the same kind of experience that happened that day of the year and the previous time is like going to come up. And so on. If there's a certain fear or experience I had, my body's going to remember that and it'll match it to did the same thing happen. So your body takes on all the thoughts and vibrations that you learn. You like absorb those. And what that does is it forms your viewpoint. Okay? So your viewpoint is like the lens through which everything happens. Or your personal reality. So each person has a certain shape to things. And like Aingeal, you've done psychic surgery, you've seen how crazy it is, what all things people have in and around their energy field. That's part of your viewpoint. That's a visual, you're looking at what all's in the shape of the funnel through which their awareness is coming in a pure form. And then it's hitting all of whatever's in their point shape, right? Whatever unprocessed emotions, whatever beliefs they've got, those you can feel them as a shape of the lens or that they are. So if you change your viewpoint from I'm a person and I'm in pain and bad things happen in the world to I'm the awareness, I'm the ruler of this body, I'm the creator, I'm the leader, right? And you lead with your awareness out through your heart, then all that viewpoint starts to reshape.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Don't have to stay.
Yeah. So is that there is the key to, let's call it the new earth or the new paradigm or the great awakening or whatever name you want to put on it. That's
exactly. So the new earth or new paradigm already exists because everything already exists, but it's specifically even on the time frame and timeline where events come out in the simulation of physical reality, right? It's already been formed in the higher planes, right? You can already visit it. You can go, hey, gurus, pull me up and show me what you've done with the new earth. And you can pop out through your third eye or do different things to go right to a full reality of the new earth. And it's at a different energy vibration than the current societal norms and energy fields and how everything's currently operating, right? So if you want to bring that down and emanate it out through your heart, you're simply deciding as a creator, I want this to be my reality. And that will then send all the information of what that feels like in that vibration into the field for everyone else to experience.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So real briefly, because there could be people listening to this who never heard of the levels that you're talking about in terms of the causal and the astral. So could you briefly just discuss bringing things down to those levels?
Yeah. So what happens is once you have the four ideas, you have the causal plane. So basically in the causal plane, you don't have form. You're just fully realized particles that can appear in time, space, and the atom creates the particles, the idea of within and without. And so when you're formless, you don't have any limitations. There's nothing that's fixed. You're not like, oh, I'm the same body every time. You're just aware of everything that's possible, everything that you can experience and what you want to share. And so it's a much more connected feeling, right? It's like everyone that's part of a society that's in causal can share and relate and connect, and you don't have to do anything separately. There's a feeling of wholeness and support and truth and knowing that's just always there, and that's how you live. Right? And so causal is that level at which you can open your viewpoint. You can feel the energy of truth, and you can bring through anything that's possible. Whereas your viewpoint here might feel more fixed, and it's based on unprocessed emotions and things from your lineage and stuff that's in your energy field, right? But when you go to causal, it starts to, just as a sparkly presence, clear all that.
Mhm.
And you tune into, oh my God, there's so much more possible, because you're not feeling any of the shapes and walls and limits of your own beliefs.
Mhm.
And
The
all-
weight.
Yeah.
And is that,
I just got to talk about the astral yet. So
yeah, I know you want to talk about the astral.
I
but
don't want them getting off track.
no, I need to know, because at that level, is that what death is when you say it's formless? Is that when somebody dies, are they?
So when people die, right, and I'm talking about most people here, right, they're not going to go into the formless. They're
Okay.
actually going to something in the astral, because
Right.
they stay in a form, but they're viewing outside the body form,
Yes.
Right, that makes
right?
sense. Yeah, gotcha.
So
Okay.
they still like go, oh, I'm going to heaven. Well, they're going to a plane where they can see others who have been informed that they know,
Gotcha.
right?
Makes sense. Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
back to the
Actually,
back to
astral.
the causal and the astral.
Yeah.
Sorry about
Well,
that.
the astral plane is where we have quite a number of other ideas. We have polarity, which gives us negative, positive, and neutral. We have the five senses, which sits on the negative one, I believe. Let me just make sure I'm saying all this correctly. Yeah, so we have the five senses that sit on the positive one, sorry, on the positive pole, which means it's a property of being able to perceive what things smell like, taste like, look like, feel like, or sound like, right? Those five. There's five actions, which are excrete, generate, move, manipulate, and speak. And then there's five sense objects, means all the properties of matter can have a smell, a taste, color, and so on. And so those three polarities, plus the 15 ideas, plus there's two more. There's buddhi, which is intelligence on the positive side, and manas, which is mind on the negative side. Those 17 ideas make up the fine limbs of the astral or subtle body, energy body.
Mhm.
So with all of those things, you can then take a form and operate and function as a form.
Right. Yeah. And is there a need to understand things at the level that you've just described at any point in time? Is there a need for anybody to understand the mechanics of that, or can somebody experience it without intellectually understanding it?
Oh, absolutely. So you don't have to understand that there's 17 fine limbs that
Yeah.
make up, the
Yeah.
subtle body, right? You just need to understand that it's a different level of energy and it's its own place that you live and exist, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it has the properties that feel more like action and magnetic. And if you feel that here in your physical body, you recognize what it is in your astral body. Unlimited cosmic energy. Things are light and they don't feel solid, right? They're more luminous. Creation is instant. You don't have to wait for things,
Mhm.
right? Then you start to go, oh, I know what that feels like. And then you recognize what it is to be astral. That being said, if you're interested in altering reality and full mastery over reality, you're going to want to get into some of those things because, it explains, or you can understand why there's a guru in India that can take a flower that has no smell and give it a scent.
Yeah.
They're working with one of the five
Yes.
auric electricities, and they're mastering creating at that level.
That makes sense. Yes. Mm. Mm. So
So in the process of manifesting, though, why do you take people to the causal first?
So
Let's say they want to manifest a particular, let's say they want to manifest more income, for example. Okay.
So you don't have to necessarily go to causal astral to manifest, right? You can just kind of say, I'm awareness, I'm the creator. But why I go to causal is to help bring that energy of truth and what is really right for you as a being and not just your body. So it's one level to say, I have a soul, right? And a soul level is generally like different lifetimes lived in the physical plane and maybe the astral back to the physical. But it can have karma in it, it can have weight in it, right? But if I go above that, where I'm a being that exists in causal, I don't have any of that weight. So it takes whatever I'm carrying as weight, and for me, in my own personal reality, opens it up. So I can now see in my body what it's like to feel unlimited. And because changing my viewpoint is so key to creation, that's like a doorway to change my viewpoint. It's one of the doorways, right? Because it's one thing to go, oh, I'll just kind of be, hunker down in
Excuse me.
in the weight I carry, right? And I could still like go, in a moment, I did some manifesting, but I can't fully move in and live and experience what I manifest in a balanced way. I can't enjoy it, which is the whole point of manifesting it.
Well, you know how you told me yesterday, we were talking about something I wanted to manifest, and you said, why don't you go to those higher astral beings that you met when you learned psychic surgery, the ones I told you came into my dream? And so I did that, right? I called upon them and I kind of mentally told them what I needed to happen. And I'm not kidding, instantly, Teon, I was so much lighter and so positive, and I just had this really clean emotion.
Yes.
And it was excitement, it was like, oh, I felt like release from something, So it's like I didn't see them, but I felt like they heard me because the effects that I had were almost very instant, actually. So that was, and I never thought to call on them before. I mean, because I never knew they were in the higher astral. I didn't know where they were,
Yeah.
They were just some figment of my dream, for example,
In that example, for everyone listening, the reason we knew they're in the astral is they appeared as golden beings. They appeared very luminous. So that's the astral plane, and there wasn't density to it. It was very alive and light with all this knowing, which means it's the higher astral, very close to causal, where you know everything. It could even be a blend of astral causal, right? Where they're bringing so much to the world in a confident, truthful, knowing, pure way. And that's higher astral.
Yeah.
And you can feel that in your body.
I could.
God, it's so.
I know. I did. I felt it right away. It was like I was washing up. And I'm like, well, I feel new. I feel like so very light and new. It was really cool. And all of a sudden, the reality of wanting our own house felt very real to me, as opposed to an idea that I wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is happening. It was quite different.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And so the more you stay in that happiness and that kind of energy, remind yourself, connect to them, check in with them, whatever it is, right? Then what's happening is your heart becomes a full expression of all that capability coming out.
Right.
Like it becomes kind of more automatic and integrated. It changes your viewpoint here and your energy field here.
Right.
And so that's why I was also saying yesterday, the heart is like what the shamans call, they say walking with one leg in this world, one leg in the unknowable world. Right. And that's simply the threshold, unknowable to this world, that's there on your heart. So when you sit in your heart and you keep accessing more from the unknowable world and calling it into creation here,
right,
the more you become like naturally in that orchestrated stream of possibility. The less thought it takes, and the more what you're inspired by just sort of automatically happens.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of being fully embodied multidimensionally, is you do enough of that to start shifting your viewpoint in your personal energy fields.
Right.
And are there people doing that unconsciously already? I mean, as you were describing that, I was thinking of young people who are very ambitious and excited about their life and excited about creating the future. Like, are they putting themselves unconsciously into that kind of space where
absolutely. It's a natural property. If they're not squashed or shut down and told, your energy is too much for me, right? Or they don't buy into that. That's just a quality of being a being in a body. The more that they're coming here in that remembrance of who they are on the other planes, then it's just naturally how they live.
Yeah. So those qualities of excitement and enthusiasm, they're all good, healthy qualities.
Oh, absolutely. It's alive. Everything that's alive is conscious and creates more life, more possibility. Right? Whereas the difference is, if I create something in my mind and my mind leads, it will create something, but that creation will be empty. It'll be dead. Right? I'm not saying don't use your mind, but don't lead with it. Start the creation as an energy life flow.
Yes.
With that pure awareness.
Yes.
And then let your mind do what it does, which is divides things and it organizes things. But it needs to be kind of it needs to come second to all that.
Now, we've talked about feeling and with the idea of manifesting. Where does visualization come into that?
So visualization is how do you connect to what is already created. Right.
Now that makes sense. And I'll tell you, let us give people a little example, because this was very real for me, and I'm sure it'll be very real for you too. We've done many book writing courses, and people will know that we've published over 1,000 books. And part of making a book a reality, the way we started when we do a writing class, is we actually create people's book covers first before they even write a word. And some people have said to us in the past, that's kind of cart before the horse. That's, we got to write the book first and then make the cover, And I always say to them, no, we create the cover first. And the reason is because when people see, now it's only a graphic, but when people see the graphic of their book cover with their name on it, it's like as if it sparks a creativity in them that says, wow, it's already created. My book's already created. And therefore the writing of it becomes very easy.
Exactly.
Do you see how?
No, it's absolutely true. It's like when you get to the level of creating the cover, even if you didn't do it in that order, right? Let's say you start writing the book. When you finally make the cover and you get the cover right to fully display the essence of why you wrote the book, then you're going to feel more serious. You're more in the reality.
That's right.
It already exists. You'll start to feel your audience. You'll start to get a different feedback and relating to it as a creation. The more complete it gets.
Yeah. And I think that's probably why a lot of people, when they talk about manifesting, they will say, create not a mind map. What do they call it? And it was a treasure, not a treasure map.
A vision board.
A vision board, yeah.
Yes.
So that's all part of the same, bringing this down from the causal into the astral into the physical, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The more visceral it is for you, right? That's the full feeling of it through your whole body.
Yes.
Right? And then you're in the reality that you were previously just visualizing.
Yes.
And once you enter in it, it's a complete reality here, right? For you in that moment, it exists. And as the energy of that, propagates out through all the layers of, gets written in with its aliveness and its high vibration into all the layers, it becomes real for others too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you something off topic a little bit. Teon, why do we forget when we come in here?
It's what we come through is masked or veiled. So physical reality itself has made of layers, and everything that is consciousness we're made of, all the atoms we come into and so on, are veiled to appear dense, separate, and solid.
Gotcha.
Right? And so once you go, oh, I'm dense, separate, and solid, and then others teach you, people around you teach you that you're a person, you've got problems, and we're worried about this, right? And they model that for you. You take that on. So if you're born, you don't take that on, and your parents are super conscious and already awake, you don't go through that forgetting process. But
yeah, I know my young grandchild, my youngest granddaughter, she's 3, keeps telling her mother, I remember when I was your mommy,
Yeah.
She listens to my daughter. So she hasn't quite forgotten completely,
Yeah, exactly. So it's a process to forget where you're trying to learn how people do things here.
So here's another question, a manifesting question.
Yeah.
We often hear from people, they say that we're protected, and that's why something might not happen. Like, even though you desire it and you envision it and you'd go through that process you talked about, but it doesn't manifest for them. And they are told that it's because they're protected somehow. Can you explain that?
So what can happen is, if you're not ready for a creation, right? You're not able to hold that balance. Then those higher beings, yourself and the astral, causal, your guides, everyone you're working with is going, let's get you the experiences so you can handle what you're asking for.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why when I create things, I go directly to the beings, just like Aingeal just did. And they're going, okay, gave her that feeling. It's like, okay, you're ready. Like, they weren't questioning anything about, are you ready for what you're asking for?
Yeah.
She felt the full uplift, right?
Right.
So if you're working with your beings and they're helping, right? Then you've already kind of checked that box.
Yes. Well,
Because
here's an experience that I had, which I was always puzzled about until now. And that was when I was growing up, teenager, I always wanted a bicycle, and I never had a bicycle as a teenager. And I remember, oh gosh, I can't remember the names of the authors at the time, but Napoleon Hill and various others,
yes. Think and Grow Rich.
Who?
Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich, all those. So I was into that, and I'm saying to myself, right, I'm manifesting this bike. And I remember envisioning it and feeling it, and I described it in the colors and everything about it, right? No bike. And I went through several years of really wondering about my own creative ability and about myself, and why didn't it manifest? Now, it wasn't as if it was that expensive or anything, but it just didn't happen. And I was very puzzled for a lot of years, until I got married and had children. And then the children wanted bikes, small little children's bikes. And the next thing, Teon, I had more bikes than I knew what to do with. There were bikes coming out I swear, there was tricycles and every type of bike you could think of. And I remember.
But did you have a bike?
I did, yeah, because I cycled with the children. But it's like when you said, when you have to be ready, it's like I wasn't ready, or my circumstances, I wouldn't have enjoyed. I really enjoyed having the bike when I got it, because I could cycle out with the children and do all sorts of go places and do things. And to me, it's like that was the perfect time for me to have a bike.
Yeah.
And I'm only raising it because when you were talking about the perfect timing, it's like that was it.
Yeah.
For me, that's when it manifested.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, but in a way that causes me a little bit of a problem, because as the creator, we should be able to manifest it whenever we want.
Yeah. So the thing is to think about yourself as the creator, you're the one occupying the seat in the body and the heart, right? And so you're taking the body with you through the journey that you're going to be creating. So if you think about it as, I should be able to materialize any object, I should be able to have anything appear in my reality. You're not here just to make anything appear in the reality. You're here to walk the body through higher and higher embodiment of what's possible.
Okay.
Which
So
is
in
different.
that way,
So
yeah.
from that standpoint, you can decide, is this experience of benefit to what I'm trying to evolve to next or not? Is it will I really use it? Will it take me down a road that is a path I want to go down?
Yes. Yeah.
And all of that being factored in. So you told me a story yesterday about how you found a newspaper clipping in a farmer's truck that had sheep.
Yeah.
And that led you to your next career. And if you
It did.
hadn't caught that particular ride, it wouldn't have walked you down that path to that thing.
Yes. That's
So
true.
there could be different reasons why having a bicycle, exploring out through that avenue is like a circuitous route to where you need to go next and focus your energy.
Yeah.
And so, plus, sometimes it's like a test to see how much manifesting energy and what it takes to create something. You put intention into the bike. And then when you finally got a bike for the kids, you had so many bikes because that energy was
That's
still
right.
there, manifesting alive, and then all of a sudden you got to see
That's
it
right.
later.
That's exactly right. But you know, I have to tell you another experience that I've had, and I'd love your comment on it because it's to do with manifesting. And I've told Aingeal Rose this before. I remember buying a lottery ticket. And I can't remember what the amount of the win was at this point in time, but it was, I don't know, $650 million or something, right?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking at the time, $650 million. And I had this sensation that, you know, I don't think my frequency or my own vibration, I don't think myself would be able to handle that.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like as if the money was a certain frequency and I wasn't at that frequency. That was the kind of separation I felt, you know?
Yeah.
And what I realized was that if I wanted to be able to handle $650 million, I would have to bring my frequency up to match that level. Now, am I right in understanding it that way?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that's exactly what I did. I went through a series of exercises, and it was mental now. I accept it was mental, but I could also feel it. I remember at the time that I felt what, 1 million felt like, and I could handle that. I thought, yeah, it's okay. I can handle that. 10 million. Oh yeah. Now that's a little bit more difficult, but I could feel it that, wow, I have to work up towards this. I have to build towards it. But nonetheless, I could feel myself building towards it. 100 million. Whoa. I wonder, like that was a bit of a stretch, I remember. And mentally I'm trying to understand this, but also physically I'm trying to feel it. Whoa, that's a big jump. And what would I do with it? And would you have to pay tax on it? Where? And so the head was going off the charts crazy.
Yeah.
And I knew then that what I was looking at was, this was how to manifest bigger things. You have to build into it. You have to feel into it. You have to grow into it. You have to bring your frequency to match it.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And growing into it is a really important point, because that's all we're doing is we're evolving the body and its consciousness and its viewpoint to grow into our full potential. So people say we're already fully realized on the other planes or in the absolute, we're completely unlimited, but we have to grow the consciousness of the body up to a different level to experience it here.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, when you do that, Teon, does that leave, like, let's say you get yourself to that and you bring your body up to that consciousness. Does that leave some sort of imprint into the earth to make it available for other people, maybe easier as well, or what?
Oh, I believe so. Yeah. It's so much harder to feel an experience if there's no example here. But if there's
Right.
an example here, right, then it's like, oh, okay. So like, I was just the other night reading about someone that visited, it's actually a novel that visited John of God in
South America, somewhere?
Brazil.
Brazil, yeah.
Yeah. And they explain that the moment you decide to go visit him, these beings without bodies start working on you for what it is you're asking and you're ready to change.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about that. They also describe further that where he lives, the casa where people come for the healings and the energy transformation, is on top of like a hill that's of quartz crystal that amplifies the kind of energy he's bringing through.
Yes.
But then they said one other word, they said, he's channeling all these beings that do the healing. And so when I considered that full idea, I went, it's not about manually doing it one at a time when I have causal and astral beings, huge society of them. It's about, I'm the one kind of like arranging the things here in the physical that happen so that I can bring those beings to others. And that brings me to what I created here in Sedona. I wanted to move to Sedona. I've wanted that for a while. I started thinking when I moved from California to Arizona in 2016, and I moved to Phoenix, I was like, Sedona's right up there. Why can't I go get a house? But I had to grow myself and prepare myself for being on what's like equivalent to a hill of quartz. I'm on a vortex.
Yes.
In a property that has to be able to balance and hold my energy and consciousness for me to be multidimensional. And I had to understand what it is to be multidimensional and to embody that. And I started doing that. So to get this house, when it was finally time where there's no physical constraints in my reality to, I work remotely in technology, so I don't need to be in Phoenix anymore.
Yeah.
I had to make changes in me because I made that request to move to Sedona.
Yes.
So it started in July of 2022, where I had myself meet myself as like the new astral being,
T-Max.
That's
cool.
That represented the energy vibration of me here in Sedona. And so T. Maximilian, which is actually my middle name, Teon Maximilian Lucas. So after I moved here, I changed my name to match the full energy of what I saw in July of the summer before I moved. T. Maximilian overflows with wealth of possibilities. That's me as the full high vibe, bright light T, high causal, high astral being with causal properties, here and ready to create unlimited.
Wow. Well, we've often heard, especially before we moved here, that Sedona is interesting because it will kick you out if you're not ready for it. Have you ever heard that? Did you hear that expression?
And in fact, when I got here, to acclimate to the energy of here, I would have to feel like stir crazy in the first few months. And I had to like leave Sedona, drive out of town, or go towards Flagstaff, go towards Cottonwood, and let everything settle down and come back.
Yeah.
And after about 6 months of being here, I acclimated.
Yes.
So even for someone where it's not going to kick you out, even if you're ready, it's your time.
Yeah.
You still have to acclimate to this incredible vortex energy, to where you've brought your energy field in harmony and balance with everything it flushes out.
Yeah. And that all is all about manifesting. Because It-
Because this was
yeah.
the beginning of me manifesting a house in Sedona. The next thing I did was connect in what I call the triangle. So in moving to Sedona, I usually work a grid of energy between different cities that hold a certain consciousness. And this grid was now going to move from just Phoenix to, we set up a triangle, my partner at the time and I set up a triangle between Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Sedona. Because there were beings we worked with in those different areas. Sedona is where I came and I woke up. And so I had a being here for the house. It was called Being, B-E-E-N. And that being would stay with whatever house we were looking for to hold the energy of this part of the triangle. And then in Nevada, there's a being called Mark, which is a very number, structure, shapes, creation being that has very high astral causal energy and has a small team of beings that bring out this like other level of creation directly from how everything is structured to materializing kind of level of energy. So we connected the triangle over to there. And then in Phoenix, we brought a being in to help upgrade the energy there. So as we're preparing to move to Sedona, it brought our energy up. So there's 3 beings that we set up, Sari, Bean, and Mark, to create a grid that represented not just moving my body and picking a house, but that house would be in the right energy grid to match the full impact in the Southwest that we wanted to have. But it's a much bigger creation where it's like, well, John of God lives on a crystal hill. I'm going to be living, Teon of God is going to live in Sedona and bring out this work. So I had to prepare the whole energy space in advance, as well as what level of being was going to embody the body.
And you clearly grew into it yourself as well.
Exactly. And then there were 2 beings that we then sent to kind of canvas the area, which were Jet and Freya, that would help pick the right house that matched those energy requirements. And so the house ended up being in a part of West Sedona that I hadn't visited before. But it's close to a vortex that works really well for me. It's Oak Creek is just on the other side of the street. The other houses on the other side are just by Oak Creek. And so we've got the energy of nature, a vortex, and the animals walk through my yard. And so it has all the balance needed for this very high energy to stay balanced for me.
It's fantastic. It's, for anybody who doesn't know it, it's in a beautiful part of Sedona and beautifully quiet too. But yet close enough that if one wanted, you could go out into the mainstream tourist type of idea of Sedona. It's quite close, but yet very quiet. Well, you know, I think one of the things about what we talk about is that many people feel they can't grasp it, that it's all too intellectual, or it's too far. What am I trying to say? Esoteric would be a good word, and that they want to know where is the best place to live or the safest place to live. And what you've just spelled out is a beautiful example of how to manifest that, how to bring that into your reality. Without the efforting involved in saying that, oh, I have to work 2 jobs and I have to work 3 shifts and I have to do all this kind of physical stuff to earn the money to do it. You're talking about creating it.
Well, he is. He is
so
doing
No, I know
you're upgrading yourself, like Aingeal, you're feeling that uplift, right? And that brings your body to a different capability level when you're staying in that vibration, right? Then what you're doing is you're evolving yourself into being ready for that reality. And you're using your guides and the beings that you work with to help orchestrate what needs to happen in the physical. so that when it comes time to pick a real estate agent, Jet and Priya are already canvassing and going, and then I feel a hit on this one will work, because they've not just suggested one, we've set up a grid and an energy and everything that wants to form the full reality. The more I can bring the full reality in with help, right, the easier it is. So I have to have the qualities of the reality, the properties I want, the energy I want, the relationship with the land and nature and all the beings in the earth.
Yeah.
All of that's there for me to create with. And it's all available when I'm centered in my heart multidimensionally. It starts to expand to where I'm not just creating with the real estate agent, but the real estate agent knows when he walked to my house that I'm not here. He's viewing it for me and he videotaped it. I'm down in Phoenix. He's like, I saw these deer walk up and they're just staring at me. And I even took a picture of it. And I felt like this was your house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And so like the deer are even involved in the creation. Right?
Makes sense.
So,
yeah.
And telling them, so I don't have to convince the real estate agent. We're working with his intuition, and my beings are working with him, and nature's working with him. And the full picture of what's being created is happening through everyone involved in the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Okay. So do you feel we got to...
He just came full circle with the whole thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know. That's what I like about it too.
Yeah.
In the last few minutes that we have, Teon, do you want to talk about what it is that you're doing to help others in the bigger picture? I mean, we know you are writing a book, but are you available to counsel others or to help them with manifesting, or like?
Yeah, so I run a mastermind group on Sundays, Sundays at 10 Mountain Time. I can start one on the weeknights, like I had one Monday night, if there's more interest. You can find that on Meetup, Sedona Multidimensionals. And so that helps people manifest, but manifest with your full multidimensional self and all the support that's available. And then the book, Limitless Living, I'll be working with Aingeal and Ahonu to create a cover next, apparently.
Yes, you will be. Yeah.
And we'll go from there. I've got about 12 pages of it written out. And this is today's topic. The heart is the doorway is principle 5 of the 7 principles of multidimensional embodying.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Well, as always, Teon, we are so grateful.
Thank you for your time today.
Yes, your time and your knowledge and your wisdom. It's wonderful. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the session. We appreciate it very much. We look forward to seeing you on your masterminds. And till next time, blessings from myself, Ahonu, and from Aingeal Rose.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for hosting me. This was a pleasure and a delight.
Well, that was certainly interesting, wasn't it, Ahonu?
I tell you what, that Teon, he is right at the cutting edge of consciousness. There's no doubt about it. And I think we're benefiting a lot from his masterminds, and the way he thinks about things is really interesting. And it certainly isn't mainstream. I mean, I don't think you're going to find what he talks about in regular books. But having said that, though, he did announce that he was writing a book, and we are very much looking forward to that. So until next time, blessings from myself, Ahonu, and from Aingeal Rose.
Bye.
You can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and on our website at worldofempowerment.com.
Don't miss an episode. Hit the subscribe button now.